folks, welcome to another edition of Driving the Cbus. Today we're going to jump into the distilling and restaurant business with Mr. Jordan Helman, who's president of High Bank Distillery. So join us as we talk more about entrepreneurship and how things get started and how they named their distillery and all the great things that they're doing at High Banks. Well, once again, folks, welcome back to the podcast, Driving the Cbus. I'm here with Kaylin McComb, Kaylin Bucklew.
It's
That's
official
right.
with Social Security now.
Exactly, and she is with child as well. So
Woo.
that's right. We've
Super with child.
We've got Piper Rose Bucklew coming into the world here in just probably about 45 days from now.
Hopefully a little bit less than that.
That's great. So, but it's good to be back with you. We have a great guest with us today, Mr. Jordan Helman. He's one of the owners of High Bank Distillery and a great purveyor of spirits here in Central Ohio. Obviously, Columbus has gotten to know quite a few great distillers as well. So I don't know if that's a new thing we're going to be known for or not. What do you think, Jordan?
Hopefully, yeah.
Well, there's a lot of awards and things that people have won here in Columbus. And tell us a little bit about yourself and about High Banks.
Oh, man, where to begin? Yeah, grew up in Central Ohio. Been here most of my life. Spent a couple years up in Cleveland living. But yeah, never really got out of Columbus. Love the city. Started High Bank about 4 years ago with a couple of my business partners, Adam, Calvin, and Jeff. And yeah, it was just kind of born out of a passion for the food and beverage hospitality industry. With the spirits specifically, we thought there was just kind of a gap in the market. When we really started working on the project, it was really just Middle West spirits and watershed. There weren't a lot of other distilleries in the state. But when we were looking at the brewery scene, there were immense amount of breweries. And just with some of the laws that were changing, allowing, food and beverage to happen on the same location as the distillery, which was previously not legal before we got involved in our project. Yeah, we just thought it was a great opportunity to, start a great business that, married passions we had for bourbon specifically, again, as well as hospitality, but along with, what we thought was a pretty good business opportunity as well. So
that's great. Now, did you have is your background? I mean, not everybody just goes out and starts a distillery or desires to, get in the restaurant business, right? It's a tough business, right, to be in. Did you always dream about doing that, or what did you do before you started High Banks?
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, I always dreamed of owning my own business. That was always my dream. I just never knew what that would look like. Out of college, I was in insurance. I did property claims adjusting. So, I was the guy climbing on the roof, going in the basement, determining if there was insurance coverage. And then I did some underwriting for a few years. Extremely boring. No offense to any underwriters out there. But yeah, I ended up starting Zest Juice Company with my wife, Natalie, which is a quick service, cold pressed juice and smoothie bar. Didn't know anything about that. Just saw it as an opportunity to work for myself, do something with my wife that we were both passionate about. So that's kind of how I guess I caught the itch for the restaurant industry. And then once I got into that and felt like I had a skill set for it and had a passion for it, I'm more drawn to the full service side of things, especially the bar side and more, casual yet elevated experiences. So that's what kind of pushed me down the road of pursuing High Bank. And then my primary business partner, Adam, he did all the brand design for Zest. So he helped us start the marketing and design the branding and all that. So we were friends for years. We had started a working relationship, and we decided to do High Bank together, but he didn't want to just do a bar and restaurant. He's like, if we're going to do this, I want to do something, whether it's brewing or distilling, something that we can create and have another component to the business. So that's what kind of helped push us down that path to the distillery as well. So
gotcha. Is the Zest thing still around? Or
yeah.
How many locations of that do you have?
Yeah, so we have 4 locations in Columbus. We have one in Grandview, which is our first one, the Short North, Dublin, and Westerville.
Wonderful.
So,
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to distilling, bourbon can be quite a craft. So how did you learn to do that, and how did you kind of come about what you now distill?
Yeah. So Adam is our master distiller. I'm the president of the company, so I oversee, all things. But I don't get into distilling. I'd probably blow up our facility. But yeah, a lot of trial and error. So our bourbon we make from scratch in house. That product we have not released yet. That'll probably come out early next year.
Because there's a time limit, right, on how long it has to sit before it can be classified as bourbon.
Oh gosh,
I think it's 5 years.
This is probably something to edit out. I should know that and don't. It's painted on our wall.
You
in
have
the
people.
Distillery.
You have people
exactly.
that handle that.
Yeah, that's Adam could tell you that off the rip. You can release young bourbon. We just don't think it tastes good, and we didn't want to release young bourbon just because we needed to generate revenue. We wanted to wait until our bourbon was ready, which we think the 4-year mark is an appropriate spot where bourbon really starts to get some really good flavor, and we like how ours is trending and feel it's going to be ready there. So what we do instead, because obviously we do have to make money, so we do a vodka and we do a gin. Our vodka just won double gold at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. It's priced below Tito's. To me, it's the best vodka on the market. Not only is it local, but it just won double gold at the biggest spirits
Did you bring any
competition in the
samples?
world. I should have. I usually do. That was terrible of me. I
We'll catch
apologize.
that next time.
But so in addition to the vodka and the gin that we make, we blend whiskey. So we have our own proprietary blend. We take 3 different mash bills. Again, Adam, I think, spent about 9 months working on our Whiskey War blend that we sell at High Bank, which that won Best Blended Whiskey in America last year at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. Won double gold this year, and we're still in the running for Best Blended Whiskey in America for the 2nd year in a row. That'll be announced in June. But yeah, as far as the blending goes, I mean, honestly, Adam is just naturally, randomly, really good at blending whiskey. I mean, the guy's just incredible at it. He went to Moonshine University, which is a real place down in Kentucky, for a couple months. Shadowed a distiller up in New York for a little bit. We built some relationships with distillers throughout the course of our time getting High Bank ready that he spent some time with. But yeah, the guy's just naturally good at blending whiskey. Drinks a lot of it. Maybe that's why. I don't know. So yeah, but we just, in my opinion, knocked it out of the park with our Whiskey War blend, and we've really been able to build our business on that great product and also the unique things we do with it. We do a lot of second aging, a lot of third aging. We double oak it. We find really good wine barrels to put it in. We just bought some cognac barrels we're going to put it in. So, we're just always trying to get creative and take this incredible base that we have and do unique things with it. So, yeah.
And your business is twofold, right? So you've got the spirits and that's being sold in liquor stores and other types of outlets. And
yeah, we're probably in 180 liquor stores across the state of Ohio. We're probably in 150 bars and restaurants across the state of Ohio. So yeah.
So you have that, and then of course you have your 2 shops, right? Or one shop and another one to come.
Yeah. So I mean, like you said, it really is 2 different businesses. That's how I look at it, because they're both, in their own rights, good sized businesses. So yeah, we have the restaurants, the one in Grandview that's been open for 4 years. And again, 614 Media Group does the Best of Columbus every year. We've gotten first place in a number of categories. We've won Best Creative Cocktail Program 3 years in a row. We just won, I think, Best Restaurant as well as Best Bar in the Upper Arlington Grandview area. Just won Best Gastropub in the city. So we take a ton of pride in both aspects of our business, whether we're distilling or creating, food and beverages for our patrons. We try to be the best at everything that we do. And we're really proud of that because we're very high volume. We're big. Our restaurant's about 9,000 square feet. With the patio open, it's, almost 300 seats. So this isn't a small, experience. This is a large experience that we've found a way to curate and really execute at a high level despite the amount of volume we do. And yeah, this next week we'll be opening our 2nd location, which we're extremely proud of and extremely excited for. I think I've been working on it for about 18 months, so I'm ready. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's great. Now, I was in your shop, I don't know, not too long ago, and I just have to commend you on how you motivate your people, or maybe your training program or something, because I had an excellent experience. The staff was just exceptional.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
What do you do? What's the secret sauce that you have to motivate folks to be so pleasant and attentive? And it seemed like they were just having a blast working, and you just don't see that everywhere.
Oh, that's great to hear. Gosh, I don't think there's anything particularly special from our perspective that we do. The ownership group, we're in the building a lot. Like me and Adam, this is our full-time job. We're around, we spend time with our staff. We, get to know our managers. We try to build relationships with our managers. We try to build a relationship with as many staff as we can. It's harder than it used to be now that we're expanding and growing. Yeah, but I'd like to believe it's a reflection of the kind of people that we are and the kind of and the way we try to treat others, I like to believe that just trickles down throughout our staff. Culture is really big deal to us, taking care of people, treating people the way we want to be treated, things like that. So, yeah, I mean, when we go in every day, I don't think there's anything special that we really try to do. We just try to treat people the right way, take as great as care of each other as we can, and then hopefully that care then gets passed on to our guests and so on and so forth.
Now, I know you guys are working on opening your second location, and I think one thing that's consistent across all entrepreneurs is that they're super hungry. Once they start getting one business established, it's working like a well-oiled machine. They're always looking into the future. How did you know when it was the right time to pull the trigger to start location number 2?
Yeah, I think part of it for me was when I felt like I finally had time. That kind of told me like, okay, I've got to get a team in place. I'm getting to a place where I'm handing off more and more stuff, and I'm kind of finding myself some days twiddling my thumbs a little bit. That's kind of when I was like, all right, it's time to start looking, because we really have a good team of people here that it's not going to overextend our business if we start looking to grow. I think that's one of the things I learned from Zest is growth is great, but you can grow too fast. You can overextend your team. You can overextend your business. So that's something I've tried to take to High Bank of, we want to grow, but grow responsibly, grow once we have managers that are able to grow with us. So that was a big piece of it, just feeling like we had the right team in place to support growth, but then also location's like such a big deal for us. Especially, I mean, we are the format of our restaurant to me is it's specific. I don't feel like our restaurant doesn't feel like other restaurants in my opinion. We're big, open, space is a big deal. It's not how many seats can we cram in. It's like, how can we capture the space and feel and overall environment that we want to have? And that takes a certain size building. So it was about finding the right building and also the right location. We didn't want to cannibalize our current location, but we also wanted to go into an area where we felt there was a need for more restaurants, enough residential density that we thought made sense, the right demographics, all of that. So finding that location, in Gahanna, right on the border of New Albany, just really checked every box. And again, the timing as far as feeling like the team was ready just lined up. So,
and how long has this process taken you? I know you guys are about to open. So from start to opening, what did that look like?
I believe I first pulled into the parking lot and was staring at this space in September of 2020. So it's been a minute.
What a great time to open up a new business.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good time to plan to open up one,
exactly.
right? I mean, and now so now they're going to hit the ground running when things are opened up, and you're going to do very, very well at that location. Like you said before, it's about location is everything in your business. Now, of course, you are kind of a destination though too. So I think people would drive. Yeah. A little bit. I know people come to the Grandview location that you have, and from all over the city. Mm-hmm. But I think you'll find that that New Albany Gahanna crowd is, and also even east of town, like Blacklick, Colts Neck, all that area there. There's not a lot of opportunities or not a lot of things to compete with there.
Right.
The barn across the street, Cameron's barn. That was in the old Hoggies location, and he just kills it there, and so I'm sure you're going to do just fine at with complementing that. That's a fine dining,
definitely,
experience, and then you've got the distillery experience right across the street.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great. I think they definitely play off each other well. The barn being there honestly gave me a lot of comfort of like, all right, people are obviously, there's some habits already built in as far as coming over this direction for a restaurant experience. There's obviously a ton of demand, so. Yeah.
Now, getting started, you've talked about earlier how you've always dreamed of owning your own business and that kind of thing. A lot of folks dream about that. They just never act on it. What was it that made you act? And then secondly, what were some of the biggest challenges you had when you were just starting off?
So what made me act on it?
Yeah, what made you you were working I know I was kind of, my godfather's kind of he was an insurance appraiser. Mm-hmm. So he knew what everything was worth.
Yeah.
And so that was his skill, right? And but I'm just curious as to going from that to this that's kind of a pretty large paradigm shift, right? I mean, obviously you were bored doing underwriting, right, and being an actuary or something like that. So, what made you just say one day, "Hey, I'm gonna"? What made you change your tune and just say, "I'm gonna do this for myself"?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess there's just always been a fire inside of me. I don't know how to describe it. I've always just wanted to get as much as I can out of life.
What age were you when you did that?
When me and Natalie started Zest, I was probably around 25 or so. And then when me and Adam started working on High Bank, I was probably 27 or 28. Yeah, I don't know. I've just always wanted, I'm a big believer in like, you have one life to live and, then that's it,
Gotcha.
Afterlife aside, but on earth, you have one life to live. And I just really want to get the most out of it. Came from a really hardworking family, but, my mom's had health issues, been on long-term disability. So I saw, this really intelligent, hardworking individual that couldn't really maybe professionally achieve all of her hopes and dreams. I came from a really hardworking dad who was a pastor growing up and then had to pivot to get into a whole nother, employment, situation to support our family. So I don't know. I think just seeing really hardworking parents who kind of had to deal with a lot of adversity just kind of put a fire in me of like, man, I really want to get as much as I can out of this life. And I want to, I want to achieve financial freedom. A lot of things in life ultimately cost money,
Right.
whether it's experiences or whether it's helping others. So a lot of it is, right or wrong, financially driven. So I've just always wanted that for my family. So that's really, motivated me a lot. And just, I don't, with High Bank, I think about a lot. Probably, for 2 years, we were just meeting once a week, doing business plan, everything, never knowing if it would result into our final, goal. But I knew if we didn't do anything, then there was certainly no chance it was going to result in anything. So, it was one of those things of getting together every week and just hoping if you keep putting in that work, eventually, somebody's going to believe in you or a bank's going to believe in you or an investor's going to believe in you. But if you do nothing, you're going to get nothing. So
That's exactly right. What a great, if you do nothing, you're going to get nothing. That's pretty profound. If you think about that in today's world, when I started my first business, I was the same way. I was like 21, I think, and I didn't have anything and I didn't know any better. And I didn't have any responsibilities, right? What a great time to start a business, and because the risk level at that point is pretty low, right? You don't have all the things that you might have if you're 40 or 50 or 60, with kids and close to retirement or whatever, so it's a good time to do that. But, what I find a lot today, young people are willing to take that chance, so they're willing to jump out there and be their own, with the whole gig economy and everything else. Those people are entrepreneurs, right?
Oh, yeah.
They're doing it themselves. And so I guess that's the lesson, that if you don't, if you do nothing, you'll get nothing. And so get out there and get motivated.
Definitely.
It seems like it's easier to even be a shining star in today's world because we have a lot of folks that aren't motivated to do those things, So there's a reward for taking that risk.
for sure.
And timing it right, is very important as well. So I always encourage people. As a young person, I learned an immense amount from running my own business. I learned, and I did it through losing money and beating my head against the wall, right? But I took those experiences into the banking world, and it just made me a better banker. Because I understand, where you've been and what you've done, and I try to pass on those experiences to our customers. But I would encourage young people to go out there and do the things that you want to do. You need to reach for your dreams. And, if you do it every day, that's the thing I tell our folks too. You had a great point where we talk about doing consistent behavior every day. If you come in every day, work as hard as you can, good things will happen.
For sure. Definitely.
You asked a really good question earlier, and I want to get back to it because the path to success isn't always linear. What challenges have you faced during your time of being a business owner of two different businesses?
COVID obviously was huge, especially operating two businesses, trying to figure out, with one business that was quick service, Zest doesn't have much of a dine-in component. So we didn't have to pivot that business as much. When we were allowed to be open to operate, we were able to kind of more operate normally. But High Bank, we had to completely pivot the entire business. I think over the course of 3 days, we went from being we do very little carryout. We do carryout, but our restaurant's so high volume, carryout is a very marginal piece of our business. So we had to pivot from being a full service dining restaurant to a carryout business. So we had to redo our menu. We had to build a to-go cocktail program. We had to figure out what staff we could keep, what staff we just couldn't keep. We had to figure out what to do in our distillery as far as continuing to execute production. But then we got into the hand sanitizer, business, giving away everything free to first responders and frontline workers, and then just selling the excess to essentially offset our costs. So, I mean, that was one of the biggest challenges, is navigating COVID and everything that brought. And then even with the reopening, determining, all the guidelines and distancing and bringing people back. That's been.
Hindsight being 2020, is there anything that you would do differently now that you're kind of out of it?
We would have made $50,000 less because we missed PPP round 2 over that. So yeah, we would have done that. Differently, I don't know. I mean, I feel like we handled COVID as well as humanly possible, all things considered. I mean, we took some risks that paid off. Like when we were allowed to reopen, a lot of people waded into it. They felt it out. We were like, we're open. Full hours, every seat we can do with, following the guidelines. Like, we're not tiptoeing into this. We're getting the business open. Brought back as many staff as we could and just dove in. And that has kept us ahead of this hiring situation that all these other businesses have been plagued with, because we rehired our entire business right away when people needed jobs and were ready to come back to work. That also allowed us to build. We always had a decent lunch business, but so many places didn't reopen for lunch. We've built an incredible lunch business now at High Bank because we just took the risk of like, hey, we're just going to reopen for lunch, and hopefully people will come eventually. So man, there was a lot of risks that really paid off for us. I'm sure there's something we would have done differently, but I honestly can't think of it off the top of my head.
In the moment, you're making decisions on an hourly basis, right? I mean, and we did the same thing at the bank. I mean, you have to play with the cards you're dealt each day.
Yeah.
But it did. I think one thing, a good lesson I think coming out of COVID is the dealing with adversity. I mean, I think business owners had to get creative. They had to change the way they did things. They couldn't just wait it out. They had to adjust. And I think that's something that everyone has to realize is an important part of business, right? Because if you don't reinvent yourself, you eventually die, you burn out and fade away, I guess, if you want to quote Neil Young, Mr. Spotify, right? So that adversity every now and then is a good dose of medicine that all entrepreneurs need.
Oh yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, that's something I think about a lot of, how to keep High Bank relevant, not just next year, but for the next 20 years, because people's dining habits change, their wants change, what's cool and what's on trend changes. So yeah, constantly having that, I don't know, healthy uncomfortability is really important, because you get comfortable, you stop, challenging yourself, you start resting on your laurels. Yeah, that's when things can go sideways, and somebody who's new and fresh and excited, comes up alongside you and then goes blowing past you. So
I had a volleyball coach growing up that the saying was always get comfortable being uncomfortable. Yeah. And granted, that was in reference to the defensive position in volleyball, which if you play sports in volleyball, you know that it's very uncomfortable. But I think that can apply here.
Definitely.
You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because if you stay within your comfort zone, there's only so much that you can achieve.
Yeah. Without a doubt.
What are you? Maybe we could talk a little bit about the customers and what they desire. So when you're creating your menus and that experience, what are some of the conversations and trends that we see there in food? Because food is like being reinvented now. With the Food Network and we've got Guy, that won the first. What did he win? The very first, the guy with the spiked hair on the Food Network.
Guy Fieri.
What's that?
Isn't it like Guy Fieri?
Something like that. Yeah. I mean, he was from Columbus.
Yeah.
And he won the very
Diners,
first amateur chef competition or something like that. And then now he's got his own show, and food is like this giant thing now. And so, but you guys have a very creative menu. Tell me how you've come up with those kind of things.
Yeah, that's another thing where there's not like some special thing we do. We try to hire really good chefs. That's a big piece of it. And And then, I mean, honestly, we just kind of sit around and spitball ideas. And I just give the chefs a lot of freedom. We'll usually look at our menu and be like, okay, we want to replace these spots on the menu. And this is kind of the direction we want to go. And then I just kind of let them have at it. And then we'll do some rollouts, come out with some ideas, see what we like, dial things in, determine directions. And we just kind of do that every time. We don't necessarily go in with like a set plan of like, all right, we want to put X, Y, and Z on the menu. A lot of times it's here's our open spots on the menu. Let the sous chefs come up with some ideas, the chefs come up with some ideas, and yeah, we just see where it lands.
I think that's so important because, I mean, really, food is an art. It's just
100%.
a different type, just as distilling is.
Yeah.
It's an art form. And so when you try to control the chef, who is essentially the creative director of the art, that's when you get yourself into these sticky situations. And a lot of very successful restaurants that I know, they have that type of freedom with their chefs. They say, look, this is the culture we're looking for. This is the vibe. This is the environment. Make it happen in your own way. And that's where you find those special, creative and really unique dishes that come out.
Definitely. Yeah, to your point, they understand the parameters. Like, we're elevated casual. We're not a high-end steakhouse. So
Right.
there are some guardrails, but outside of that, it's, come up with stuff within our parameters and go crazy. Yeah, currently we have this pork belly banh mi on the menu, which, again, I would have never even thought of that. And it's, I believe, probably the best-selling new item on our menu, but that was just them just being creative and coming up with ideas. But then we have the spicy chicken sandwich, which is by far our highest-selling item. And we put that on the menu as a joke when Popeyes rolled out their spicy chicken and sold it out. We're like, we'll throw one on for fun. And now it's the best-selling item on the menu for, 3 years. So then there's things like that where you just do random stuff because you think it's kind of fun, and then it sticks. Yeah,
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now you guys were really creative as well in naming your business. And so maybe you could talk to us a little bit about how that came about and why you picked the name High Banks, because there's a whole story behind that, and maybe you can enlighten us about that.
Yeah. So originally we were gonna be called, I believe it was 1812, which is the year Columbus was founded, but that was already under trademark for some other reason. But Adam, again, he's a big brand guy, so he's really passionate about attaching a story to things. We don't just want to have a random name that we just picked. Let's have a name that we like, but there's also a story behind it. And that's what kind of led us to High Bank. We didn't want to be Columbus Distilling Company because we do have aspirations of eventually growing outside of Ohio. But we did want to pay homage to Columbus. So that's where we came up with the name High Bank, which is based around the story of the founding of the capital. When they were looking for where they were going to place the new capital, there were a lot of areas in consideration. Franklinton was one of them, but it was, I guess it's in a floodplain, so it was prone to flooding. So they looked to the other side of the Scioto and Olentangy, to the high bank of the river, and that's where they ended up founding Columbus, also known as the Wolf's Ridge, which I believe is where Wolf's Ridge gets their name. We never knew that until we were investigating the Stone story for High Bank. But yeah, so the name High Bank's really attached to the founding of Columbus. So again, trying to pay homage to the city we're from, but also coming up with a name that as we grow can go anywhere with us. So yeah,
no, that's neat. That's neat. How folks come up with their names and the historical components and all that. There's a lot of that happening in our world here in Columbus.
Yeah.
A lot of folks. Columbus is turning into a beautiful town.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're the 13th largest city in the country. We've got all kinds of things happening here, and obviously we're known also as a kind of a food capital too. Not only a test market for fast food and for other things, but just a general destination for that. I was in the airport not too long ago, and I had a group that I was talking to, a guy and a gal, and they were in from Boston. They were here on vacation.
Oh, wow.
I'm like,
How
you're
about
from
that?
Boston and you're coming to Columbus on vacation? They're like, yeah. Do you realize all the food that you have here and the arts, and we're going to see a concert, and we're going to do this, and we're going to hike over here. And I said, well, yeah, I guess I live here. I guess I take it for granted.
Yeah.
But, so we have people coming from all over the country trying to experience what we have here
Well, that's fun
in
to hear.
Central Ohio. Yeah. How about if you had to give some lessons to some folks, out there, young folks that may want to get up and do something for themselves? If you had a couple pieces of advice for them, what would it be?
Oh, wow. I don't know. I think a big thing is, try to figure out what you're passionate about, and pursue it, even if it's just a hobby. You never know where it's going to go. I think that's a big thing, is just finding a passion and not being afraid to pursue it. I think so many people just settle for like what life's supposed to be, and checking the boxes, and your passions and the things you really care about can get lost in the mix. I mean, I don't know. That's so tough. I think finding discipline is just. I wish I could have found discipline early in life. Probably gone out a little less, probably drank a little less, probably saved more money. Just finding discipline earlier in life, I think would have served me well. Read. I mean, people need to read more books and invest in yourself. I think especially as you get busier in life, it becomes so easy to just stop investing in yourself. That's something I've been trying to do a lot more lately, is read more and listen to more audiobooks and listen to more podcasts. And it's kind of been jarring realizing, like, man, there's so much information out there, and there's so much I still don't even know, whether it's about business or about parenting or all of the things. So I think in the busyness of life, having fun and doing your work can kind of take over everything, and you forget to invest in yourself. So I don't know.
Well, those are two great points. Have your awakening a little sooner in life.
Yeah.
And it took me 20 years to graduate college, right? So I awoke a little later than most. But when I look back at that, I remember though that I actually started a business at 21. So I was awake pretty early.
Yeah.
I remember also one of the things that you talked about earlier is that you were, spitballing and making stuff up on the fly, and I think a lot of folks have hesitation about starting their own business or doing things because they don't know where to start, and then they lack the confidence to continue. I had that one time. I'll tell a brief story here as we wrap up, but I had a very wise guy that helped my father start Heartland. His name was Jack Eggspuler, and he was he ran Don Scott Field and was an attorney who ran a company called AeroSafe, and they would do airplane crash investigations and testimony and stuff for trials. So one day I was running my business and I was just all stressed out. And my dad said, "Hey, let's just go on a golf trip and take a few days off and unwind." And so we were sitting in a hangar, but Jack was flying us around, and we sit in a hangar waiting for a storm to go by. And I asked Jack, I said, "Jack, how do you really know when you know what you're doing? How do you get that confidence to know, that you know what you're doing and you have that confidence?" And he looked around to make sure nobody was listening. And he says, "Scott, nobody knows what the hell they're doing." He says, "We're all just making this up as we go along. And if you continue to do consistently the things that you do every day, day in and day out, you're eventually going to be successful." Mm-hmm. And that's what it's all about. And that I've really kept that to heart, that, and try to give that advice to young people as well. So the awakening, and then also being creative and finding your passion, and then running with it. Yeah. If you don't do anything, you won't get anything. Those are all great things. Jordan, any other final thoughts you want to pass along to us?
I think to your last point, I mean, don't let the fact that you may not have all the answers stop you from doing something. I mean, when we were starting High Bank, we thought High Bank was going to be a distillery with a little cocktail bar. But as we just kept working through the process, found the location, it helped craft what the final thing ended up being. But, we didn't let the unknown stop us. We just kept showing up, kept doing the next day and the next day and the next day. And then eventually the full vision and what High Bank ended up being came to fruition because we kept showing up and kept putting in the work. So yeah, just not letting the unknown stop you from, moving forward. So
that's really good advice. Well, Jordan, I appreciate you coming in today. And folks, remember that on the 14th, is that right? The 14th, you're going to be 18th. I keep saying that. I'm stuck on the 14th. The 18th of May, they're going to be opening up their second location in Gahanna, New Albany, right there at the corner of, I guess that's 62 and Morse Road.
Yep.
So come out and see them. And also remember, they have the best vodka in Ohio for sure, and maybe even beyond. So
and the best blended whiskey in America.
That's right, best blended whiskey in America. So all kinds of spirits there to partake in. Jordan, thanks for coming in and driving the bus.
Thank you.